Rian stood on the metal platform of Station Greric, staring at the heavy ship door in front of him. The spaceport floated around a dying red dwarf star, far away from the main planets. Only military transports came here, and today, one of them carried someone Rian never thought he would see in his life. A soldier next to him whispered, "They say she burned 10 worlds." Rian didn't answer. He had heard all the stories. Everyone in the galaxy knew the name Vale. She was called the Widow of Suns, the Storm Queen, the Shadow Beast. They said she tore ships apart with her hands. They said she could crush minds without touching anyone. The stories sounded impossible, but people believed them. Everyone feared her. And now, Rian was the one chosen to transfer her to the Union Detainment Vault. The ship doors hissed open. A group of armored guards stepped out first. Behind them walked a tall woman in silver restraints. Her skin had a dark violet glow. Her eyes, sharp and still, moved slowly across the landing bay. Her hair was tied back, long and dark like a night without stars. She was calm, not angry, not afraid. Just watching. Rian felt a strange chill. A voice from the side barked, "Officer Rian, you'll escort her on the next jump to Vault 9. Do not speak to her. Do not answer her. She will try to play with your mind." Rian nodded and took the control baton. It was linked to her cuffs. One button and she would drop to her knees. At least, that's what the manual said. The guards left. Now it was just Rian and the galaxy's most dangerous alien woman inside the narrow ship corridor. She looked at him, not with rage, not with hate, just looked. Rian walked ahead, silent. The door to the holding room opened. She stepped inside without protest. He locked it. As the ship left the station, Rian sat outside her chamber, staring at the monitor screen. She was sitting in the center of the room, still not moving, still watching. The ship lights dimmed. They had entered jump space. Hours passed. Rian stayed at his post. He tried to ignore the stories. He told himself not to look into her eyes, not to listen. But then something strange happened. She spoke, only one word. "Thank you." Rian froze. He checked the comm screen. She was still in the center, still calm, but her lips had moved. He leaned forward, unsure. "Did you say something?" he asked. Silence. She tilted her head just a little, then looked away. Rian sat back, confused. Why would someone like her thank anyone? Was it a trick, a test? Was she trying to break his mind? He shook his head and focused on the control panel. But the words stuck in his thoughts. "Thank you." Later, the lights flickered. The ship shook slightly. Rian checked the system, a minor power shift. He stood and walked down the corridor toward the engine room. Then alarms blared. Oxygen leak detected. Life support failing. Rian ran back toward the front. As he turned the corner, smoke filled the hallway. He coughed, eyes burning. Fire suppression kicked in. But it was too late. Something had damaged the air filters. He stumbled, fell against the wall. Choking. Then he saw her. Vael. The chamber door was open. She walked toward him slowly, not running, not attacking. She knelt beside him, pressed something to his neck, a small injection. His breath returned slowly. He looked up in shock. "How? How did you get out?" She didn't answer. Instead, she turned toward the smoke and activated the emergency vent system. The corridor cleared. When Rian could speak again, he said, "You've saved me." Vale looked at him. Her eyes were not angry, not cold, just quiet. "You are not like the others," she said softly. Before he could respond, she returned to her chamber and sat down. The door slid shut behind her as if she had never moved. Hours later, Rian stood in the command room, staring at the logs. There was no record of the door opening, no sign of her stepping out. No proof. He checked the cuffs, still locked. The injection gone. He stared at the monitor again. Vale was sitting in the center, eyes closed now. Was he losing his mind? Had it all happened? He pressed the comm button. "Why did you say thank you?" Her eyes opened slowly. She looked at the screen. "You were kind, once, long ago. You do not remember. But I do." Rian blinked. "I've never met you before," he said. "You will remember." When it matters, she replied. The calm cut. Rian leaned back in his chair. The stories had all said she was dangerous, a monster. But monsters don't save lives. And monsters don't say thank you. Something was wrong. Something was missing. And for the first time, Rian wasn't sure who the real threat was. He looked out the window as the stars moved past. The journey was far from over. And the truth was just beginning. The stars outside the ship moved slowly, like quiet dust across a black ocean inside. Everything was still. Rian sat in the control room, one eye on the monitors, the other on the sealed chamber where Vale sat. She had not moved for hours. Her hands rested on her knees, her eyes closed, her breath calm. It was like she was meditating or waiting. Green checked the system logs again. There was no sign that her cell had ever opened. During the oxygen failure, no damage to the locks, no footprints, and yet she had walked through smoke and saved his life. He remembered the feeling, the sharp burn in his lungs, her hand holding him steady, and the injection that cleared his breath. It was real. He felt it. But now it was like a dream. Rian leaned back in his chair and looked at the ceiling. Maybe I'm losing my mind, he said quietly. His ship floated through jump space with a soft hum. They were still 2 days from Vault 9, the Union's highest security prison. Rian was alone with her until later that night. The lights flickered again. Rian stood up quickly. He tapped the panel. Power levels were normal. But something felt strange. He walked toward the back section of the ship to check the power core. Each step echoed through the narrow hallway. The silence was too deep, like the ship itself was holding its breath. As he reached the engine room, he heard it, a soft sound, not metal, not machines, a voiceless and grind. Step closer. The sound came from a speaker, one of the old ones, almost never used. The voice was low and steady. It was not human, but it was beautiful. Check the panel. The signal was not from the ship, not from outside either. Then it stopped. The screen flashed. Signal received. Origin unknown. Rian pressed the console. A file opened. It was a recording. A blurry image showed a planet burning, ships falling from the sky, and in the center of it all, Vale. But she wasn't attacking. She was standing between 2 armies, trying to stop them. The image froze on her face, tired, broken, not angry, not wild, just Sadrian walked back to her chamber. She was awake now, watching him again. He turned on the voice channel. That signal, the one I just got. What was that? Her voice came through slowly. Truth. But truth is not always welcome. You were trying to stop the war? Rian asked. Yes, but everyone says you started it. I was sent to end it. When I refused to destroy a peaceful colony, they blame me. Who is they? The ones who live behind curtains. The ones who pull strings but never show their faces. Rian looked at her. Confused, she spoke clearly, but her words felt heavy, like they carried more than just meanings. You saved me, he said again. I do not enjoy killing. I never did. Then why didn't you run? You had the chance. She looked at him quietly. You gave me water. Rian blinked. What? A long time ago. You were a young soldier. You gave water to a wounded enemy. That enemy was me. Rian frowned. He tried to remember. There had been many battles. Faces blurred, pain and smoke. But yes, one time, he had given water to a strange figure. One with violet skin. She had been left behind after a skirmish. That was you. He said yes. No one ever showed me kindness before that. Rian didn't know what to say the next day. The ship passed near an old communications relay. Rian planned to send a message to the prison, just to check in, but the relay didn't respond. The signal bounced back. Scrambled, tried again, still no reply. Checked the map. There was nothing else nearby. Only cold space and dead satellites. As he turned back to the control panel, he saw movement on the monitor. Vale had stood up. She walked toward the wall of her chamber and pressed her hand against the metal for a second. Nothing happened. Then the screen glitched. Adrian ran to the chamber. Door was still locked. She was still inside, but she turned to him slowly and said, "Something is wrong. We are not alone." Rian looked at the external scanners. A shadow moved in the distance. No ID, no signal ship, no lights, no name, and it was following them. Had activated defense mode. Shields on engines, red-eyed. Unknown ship kept coming. No hail, no reply. Then a weapon charge flashed on the screen. Rian felt fear rising. This wasn't a random attack. This was a planned move. Someone knew where they were. Looked at Vel's chamber. She stood still, her hands at her sides. "What do we do?" he asked through the mic. "Let me help," she said. "You'll escape." "I could have escaped already." I didn't. Rian hesitated. The enemy ship was getting closer. The alarm blared, shields weakening. He made a choice. He opened the chamber. Vale stepped out, not fast, not wild. She walked to the front deck, placed her hands on the weapon controls. Then, with quick motions, she rewired the targeting system. Fire now. She said and pressed the button. A beam shot forward. Silent but deadly, it struck the enemy ship. Right in the Engineth, a known ship exploded in a burst of blue light. Rian stared at the screen. They were safe. He looked at Vale. She looked at him. You trust too easily. She said you could have left. You didn't. For the first time, she gave a small smile. You're starting to remember. The ship floated in silence again. The enemy vessel had been destroyed. But Rian was not calm. He stood beside Vale, watching the broken pieces of metal drift in space. No signal, no markings. No warning. That ship, it wasn't random, was it? Rian asked. Vale slowly shook her head. They knew exactly where we were, but how? Someone wants me gone. Not in prison. Not alive. Rian stared at her. His hand rested near the emergency control panel. But she didn't move toward him. She just watched the stars again. He turned back to the console, tried sending another signal to Vault 9. Still nothing. Val stepped away and sat near the side wall. Her hands rested on her knees. Like before, they are not Union soldiers. She said they were Union colors. But they belong to someone else. Who? Rian asked. Who are they? Vale looked at him with steady eyes. A hidden group. No one knows their real name. They call themselves the Circle in secret. Rian had never heard of it. He worked for the Union. Followed orders, read reports. This name had never come up. They control stories. Vale said they decide who is hero and who is villain. They decide what the galaxy should believe. You think they're controlling everything? I don't think. I know. I used to work for them. Rian sat down across from her. He was quiet, trying to understand. I was their weapon. Vale continued. They sent me to end wars, to stop uprisings, to crush resistance. I obeyed, until one day, they gave me a target. A peaceful world, full of farmers, children, no weapons. What did you do? I refused. She looked at the floor. And they turned me into a monster. Rian pulled up the old database on his wrist pad. He found a file about the farming world. The report said Vale attacked it. Without reason, the pictures showed smoke and fire, but then he found something odd. The file had been edited 4 times. By unknown users, no names, just changes. These records, they're fake. Rian said. Vale nodded. Why didn't you try to speak the truth before? I tried, but no one listened. Once the Circle marks you as a threat, they erase the real you. Rian looked at her. She didn't look like a monster now. She looked tired. You could still run. He said you could escape the galaxy. I don't want to run. I want the truth to survive. The ship neared a Union checkpoint base, a small station on the edge of a quiet system. It was not the final prison, but a stop for fuel and supplies. As they approached, Rian felt uneasy. He remembered the attack earlier. Someone knew their route. Station looked empty. To empty. I opened a line. This is Officer Rian, transferring prisoner Vale to Vault 9. Requesting docking access. A soft voice replied. Permission granted. Welcome. Vale stood beside him. Now, be careful. She said. I have to refuel. You are walking into their hands. Rian looked at her. I'll be fine. Stay on the ship. The ship landed gently inside the dock. Metal arms clamped it in place. Rian stepped out first. 2 soldiers waited at the bottom of the ramp. They didn't smile, didn't salute. You're late. One said ship took minor damage. Had to make repairs. Rian answered. Where's the prisoner? Inside. Still cuffed. The 2 soldiers looked at each other. Then one tapped his comm. We have him. Move in. Rian's eyes narrowed. Move in. Behind him, 10 more soldiers appeared from hidden corners. All wore blank armor, no Union badges, no flags. Rian reached for his baton. Taladion soldier grabbed his arm. Another pressed a cold device to his neck. Pain rushed through him. He fell to the ground. Woke up in a small room. Hands tied, face bleeding. Lights flickered above him. A man stood in the corner, tall, wearing clean robes, no weapon, but his voice was sharp. You are brave. Officer Rian. Foolish, but brave. Who are you? A shadow, a messenger. You do not need my name. You're part of the Circle. The man smiled. You were warned not to speak to her. She saved my life. She tricked you. You are a child playing with fire. Rian looked up. What are you going to do with her? The man turned away. She will disappear. And so will you? This little trip ends here. He walked out. The door closed, but the room was not silent for long. Small flash came from the wall. A whole open veil stepped in, holding a stolen key. How did you? I know their tricks. I taught them. She cut the ropes. We have to go. Now together they moved through the station. The halls were quiet to quiet suddenly. Let's turn. Red alarms sounded. Voices shouted across the system. They ran toward the landing. Big guards came from both sides. Veil moved fast, not with anger, with skill. She used no weapons, only pressure points. She dropped them without killing. Green reached the ship and opened the doors. They rushed inside. Powered the engines. Are they following? Vale stood at the window. Not anymore. The ship launched. The station grew smaller behind the mod, safe in open space again. Rian sat down, breathing hard. Thank you, he said this time. She smiled fully. You remember the water? I remembered your eyes. They had no fear. Where do we go now? He asked. I know a place, an old outpost. No one goes there anymore. We can rest. Plan our next move. Rian nodded. The truth was out there, buried under lies, but not lost, not yet, and he would help her find it. The wind blew softly over the cliffs as the sky turned gray. Jem walked behind Vetra as they climbed a rocky path toward the highlands. The jungle had faded behind them. Now the ground was dry and rough, covered with ash and stone. The trees were gone here. Only broken pillars and metal bones stuck out from the earth. Vetra stopped at the top of the ridge and pointed ahead. There, she said. That is the old outpost. Jem raised his scanner. The screen blinked with weak signals. Still active, he said. Something's working inside. The outpost was half buried in the hillside. A tall tower leaned to one side, and its metal walls were black with age. Most of the roof was gone. Some lights still blinked near the base. Jem and Vetra moved carefully through the rubble. Vetra's claws tapped lightly against stone. Her eyes stayed alert. Inside the broken door, the floor was cracked and sloped. A hallway stretched into darkness. Wires hung like vines from the ceiling. Jem turned on his wrist light and followed Vetra through the narrow space. They entered a large room. A round table sat in the center, covered in dust. Screens lined the walls, most of them broken, but one small light was blinking green. Vetra moved to the panel and placed her hand on it. The light turned blue. A soft hum filled the room. It's still listening, she said. Jem watched as symbols appeared on the main screen. Then a voice began to speak in Vetra's language. The sound was old, slightly broken, like a recording played too many times. Vetra stood still. It's him, she said. Commander Kareth. The voice continued. Jem couldn't understand the words, but he saw how Vetra's face changed. Her eyes lowered, her claws loosened. What is he saying? Jem asked. Vetra translated slowly. He says they tried to escape, but the hollow were everywhere. They reached the outpost, but lost many people. The last message was sent from here. He told any survivors to stay away. The enemy had followed them. Did he survive? Jem asked. I don't know, Vetra said. The message ends without a goodbye. The screen flashed once more, then faded. The room grew quiet again. Jem looked at the floor. It was covered with footprints, old ones, human-sized and large ones like Vetra's. Others were here, he said. Yes, she replied. This was the last place of my people. This was where hope ended. Jem walked to a small control panel and opened the cover. The wires were dusty, but not burned. He connected his scanner and started checking the signal. There's a weak pulse, he said. It's still broadcasting something into orbit. Not a message, just a beacon signal. Can you repair it? Vetra asked. I can try, Jem said, pulling out his tools, but it'll take time. He worked carefully. Vetra sat nearby. Silent again, she watched the broken screens as if hoping for one more message to appear. Her armor looked dim in the light. The fire in her eyes was softer. Jem finally closed the panel. Try it now, he said. Vetra placed her hand on the beacon control. It blinked once. Then a loud tone filled the room. A soft voice spoke in the same language. Jem looked up. What is it saying? Vetra's voice was calm. It's saying, the system is open. The beacon is ready. Jem smiled. We can send a message to the sky. Vetra looked at him. What will we say? Jem thought for a moment. The truth. That someone still lives here. That the war left wounds that never healed. That this world is not empty. Vetra nodded. And a warning. Jem agreed. Yes. A warning about the Hollow. About what they did. About what could happen again. He typed the words into his translator, and Vetra added her own. Together, they formed a message in both languages, a story of survival, a memory of pain, a call for peace. They sent it. The beacon's light glowed strong now. The tower above them began to blink again. Far above, in orbit, Jem's ship would pick up the signal. And maybe others would too. For a while, neither of them spoke. They just sat there, listening to the hum of the machine. You fixed more than a beacon, Vetra said quietly. You woke something I thought was gone. What's that? Jem asked. Hope, she replied. Jem looked at her. Her face was calm now, still strong, but not angry. She looked less like a weapon and more like a person. You're not alone anymore, Jem said. No, she agreed, and neither are you. A sudden sound echoed from outside. They stood quickly. Vetra moved to the door, claws ready. Jem stayed behind her. The sound came again, a soft buzzing. Then a flash of light near the tower. What is that? Jem asked. Vetra narrowed her eyes. Drones, enemy design. Not ours. Are they scouting? Jem asked. Maybe, Vetra said. Or maybe they heard the beacon. Jem's heart pounded. We should leave. Not yet, she said. We need to know what they are. The two moved quickly out of the room and climbed to the top level of the outpost. From there, they saw the sky. Two small drones flew in circles near the beacon tower, black with red lights. Fast, quiet. They don't belong to any known faction, Jem said, checking his scanner. No signal code. Then they are from the Hollow's remains, Vetra said, or someone worse. Jem looked at her. Do we destroy them? No, she said. We follow them? Jem's eyes widened. You want to follow the drones if they were watching. Then someone sent them, Vetra said, and I want to know who. Jem nodded. Then let's go. They gathered supplies quickly and stepped out of the outpost. The beacon still blinked behind them, sending their message into the stars. The world around them was quiet again, but now it felt different, not dead, alive. Jem and Vetra moved into the hills, following the quiet machines ahead. The path was uncertain, but their purpose was clear. They would not run from the past. They would walk into it together. The wind had changed. Jem noticed it first as he walked behind Vetra along the rocky trail. It was colder now, and dry dust moved across the stones. The jungle was far behind them. Only sharp cliffs and wide skies stretched around them. Above, clouds circled in long spirals, moving fast but making no sound. The two drones they had seen earlier were now gone, disappeared into the hills. But Vetra believed they had come from someone or something watching nearby. She didn't say it aloud, but her steps were faster now. Her grip on her blade was tighter. We're close, she said after climbing a steep path. I know this place. It's older than the war. Before my people built cities. Jem looked ahead. A narrow entrance was carved into the side of the cliff, dark, round, and deep. Vines grew over the stone, but someone had cut them recently. The path was clear. Is this a base? Jem Vetra shook her head. No, it is older than bases. It is a memory cave. A memory cave, she nodded. Our ancestors stored thoughts. Inside these walls, long before we used machines, the cave remembers. It speaks to those who carry our blood. Jem looked at her with interest. Will it speak to you? I don't know, she said quietly. I've never entered one. Together, they stepped inside. The air was cooler, but not unpleasant. A soft glow came from the walls. Not light from lamps, but from the stone itself. It pulsed gently like a heartbeat. Jem whispered. It feels alive. It is, Vetra said, in a way. As they walked deeper, strange shapes appeared in the walls. Not carvings, not drawings, more like shadows of things that had once been real. A battle, a face, a city rising from the ground. The images moved slowly, like smoke caught in glass. Vetra placed her hand on one wall. Her claws touched a glowing spot. The image shifted. Now it showed a group of tall figures standing in silence. As stars fell from the sky, my ancestors, she said. Why are they showing themselves now? Jem asked. Because they know I've returned, Vetra said. And I'm not alone. They reached a larger chamber, a wide dome with high stone arches and a floor shaped like a spiral. The center of the room glowed with soft blue light as they stepped into the circle. The air grew warmer than something strange happened. Edgem heard a voice not through his ears, but inside his mind, not in words. But in feeling it felt like a question. He looked at Vetra, who was frozen in place. Her eyes were wide, her breath shallow. I feel them, she whispered. They are speaking. To both of us. The light in the center of the chamber rose like mist, slowly. It took shape, a figure, tall and graceful. Not human, not fully like Vetra either. Somewhere in between. Its face was calm, its eyes soft. Jem stepped back. Is that one of them? He escaped. Vetra nodded slowly. A guide, a watcher. The figure raised its hand and pointed toward the wall. Images began to appear again. This time they were clear, earth hollow. Black shapes falling from the sky, destroying cities, burning forests. A world torn open within a circle of light. Beings like Vetra surrounding it, sending something into space. A crystal, a child, a voice sealed into. Edgem looked at Vetra. Was that she said. It was someone like me. Maybe from my bloodline. Maybe from the same story. The guide figure turned again. More images came. A man, human, touching an old door, waking a machine, helping a wounded alien woman in a ruined street. Jim stared at the man. He looked like someone he knew, looked like himself. Vetra stepped beside him. It was always you, she said. You're part of the story. Maybe from long ago, maybe now. I don't understand. Jem said. The guide's face showed no anger, no joy, only calm truth. Then the voice returned in Jem's mind. You are not a mistake. You are a bridge. Jem felt something shift in his chest. Not pain, not fear, just understanding. A quiet truth settling inside him. Vetra stepped forward. Show me the end, she said. The guide raised its hand again. The light in the chamber dimmed. A final image filled the dome. A planet falling into shadow, ships fleeing, crystals scattered into space, voices calling out, searching. Then silence. Jim swallowed hard. They didn't survive. Vetra's voice was strong. Some did. We are proof of that. The figure nodded once, then the light faded. The images vanished. The chamber grew still again, but now something had changed. A symbol was glowing at the center of the floor, a circle with 3 lines. Jem had seen it before in the old outpost, on Vetra's armor. In the beacon's code, it's the same mark. He said. Vetra stepped into the center. The mark glowed brighter. The cave responded with a soft, humid door behind them, opened a hidden path. Jem looked at her. What now? She looked at him. We follow it. They gathered their things and stepped through the door. The cave led downward now, deeper, darker. But they did not feel fur. They felt Kaladin somewhere, far above. The stars kept moving. The path behind the memory cave led down into the stone. The walls were smooth and round, glowing gently as Vetra and Jem walked deeper. Their footsteps echoed in the quiet tunnel. Neither of them spoke. The air was cool, not cold, and it carried a strange feeling, like the past was still alive. Jem held a small light in his hand, but he didn't need it much. The path itself seemed to guide them. Every few steps, a soft symbol would glow under their feet, lighting the next turn. It felt like the cave knew they were coming. How deep does this go? Jem asked. His voice low. Vetra glanced around. No one knows. These places were sealed before the war. Only the chosen were allowed inside. And now we're walking freely, Jem said. Because the past is open, she replied. It sees something in us. After a long walk, the tunnel ended at a wide stone door. It had no handles, no locks, only a symbol carved deep into the center. The same circle with 3 lines they had seen before. Vetra stepped forward and placed her hand on the symbol. Nothing happened at first. Then the lines began to glow. Soft light spread out from her hand and moved across the door like a wave. Slowly, the stone began to slide open with a low sound behind. The door was a chamber filled with light. Jem stepped inside, and for Z, it was not just a room. It was a sanctuary. Crystal towers stood in a circle. Each one hummed softly. Between them floated strange orbs of light, slowly spinning. The The floor had markings that moved like water. The ceiling was high and smooth, showing stars that looked real. Though they were only light this is, Jem whispered a core room, Vetra said, eyes wide. Not many ever saw this, even in the old days. They walked slowly between the crystal towers. As they passed, the orbs reacted, changing color and speed. Each one pulsed when Vetra came close. Jem noticed one that flashed red when he walked by, but then quickly returned to blue. At the center of the room was a round platform. Floating above it was a single crystal, larger than the others. It glowed with a deep golden light. What is it? Jem asked. Vetra's voice was soft. A seed crystal. It holds a full memory, not just moments, a whole soul. Jem stared at it. Like a person. Yes, she said. Someone important. Their voice, their mind, their story. All of it. Vetra stepped closer, but did not touch it. It was waiting for the right one, she said. If you touch it, and it accepts, it will speak. Jem hesitated. Me? Yes, she said, looking at him. I believe it's for you. He reached out slowly and placed his fingers on the crystal. It was warm. The room went still. Then light surrounded him. Couldn't move, but he wasn't afraid. He was standing inside a memory. The world around him shifted. No, he saw a wide valley, filled with light. Towers rose in the distance. Vetra's people, tall, proud, full of life, walked below, and in the center of it all stood a man. HumanBond gasped. The man looked like him. Not exactly, but close. Same eyes, same build, same posture. The man was speaking to a group of Vetra's people. His voice was strong and calm. He spoke of peace, of protection, of unity. And darkness felt hollow came from the sky. Black ships, fire, screams. From saw the man again, standing between the enemy and the people, fighting with strange energy, saving a child, giving his life. Memory. Fatigum opened his eyes. The crystal was dim now, its glow fading. Vetra was standing beside him. Her eyes searched his face. What did you see? She sketched. Took a breath. A man, human, like me. He lived here, fought for your people, died protecting them. Vetra nodded slowly. I've heard of him in old stories. They said a stranger from the stars came to help. Many thought it was just a tale. Jem looked at the crystal. He's real. His memory is here. The cave showed it to you, Vetra said. That means it sees you the same way. I'm no hero, Jem said. I was just a technician. I came here by accident. No, Vetra said, her voice steady. You came because something called you. The same thing that called him. Jem looked at the markings on the floor. They were changing now, forming a path, leading to a small hidden exit on the far wall. We're not done yet, he said. Vetra agreed. There's more to find, more truth to uncover. As they followed the path, the room behind them slowly dimmed. The crystal towers faded into silence. The chamber had given them what it could. Tunnel beyond the exit was narrow but short. It led them outside, high on a cliff overlooking a wide valley. The sun was setting, casting golden light across the land. Vetra pointed down. That valley, I know it. There's a temple there, another memory place, but older than any we've seen. Should we go now? Jem asked. Not yet, she said. We rest here tonight, then we finish it tomorrow. They sat near the edge of the cliff, watching the sun go down. The wind was calm now. The sky turned orange, then purple, then dark for the first time. Vetra looked peaceful. Jem glanced at her. Are you still angry? She didn't look at him, but her voice was soft. No, I understand now. You're not the enemy. Then what am I? He sketch finally turned toward him. You're part of the story, just like me. The stars appeared above them, one by Oni in the memory cave far below. Still quiet again, its secrets passed on, its voice now carried by two souls walking together. The stars above were quiet as Jem opened his eyes. Morning light had just started to touch the hills. The sky was pale orange, and the wind moved softly across the cliffs. He sat up slowly, stretching his arms. Vetra was already awake, standing at the edge of the cliff, staring at the valley below. Jem joined her, rubbing the sleep from his eyes. You didn't rest? I did, she said. But I dreamed of the old ones, of that man, the human warrior. Jem nodded. Me too. His memory is still inside me. I can feel it. Vetra looked at him. Maybe that is what the crystal wanted to pass the story forward through you? Jem didn't answer. He just stared at the valley. Down below, past the trees and hills, stood a large stone structure. It looked broken in parts, but still strong. Wide walls, tall pillars, covered in green vines. That's the temple you spoke about. Vetra nodded. Yes, the oldest one still standing. If there is a final message, it will be there. They packed their bags and began their way down. The path was steep at first, but the forest welcomed them again. The trees here were taller, older, and the ground was soft with moss. Strange birds flew above them, silent and glowing with small lights under their wings. For a long time, they walked without words. But neither of them felt alone. By midday, they reached the front of the temple. The main door was huge, made of a thick silver-colored stone. Symbols were carved deep into its surface. Jem touched one. It felt warm. Vetra stood still for a moment, then slowly placed her hand on the center-marked door. Responded at once. A soft hum filled the air. Lights moved through the carvings like flowing water. Then the door slid open with a sound like old breath inside. The air was dry. The chamber was quiet. Large columns held up the ceiling, and lines of light moved across the floor in gentle patterns. It was beautiful, but there was also something heavy in the space, like the air itself remembered too much it. The far end of the room stood a tall device. It looked like a chair, but one made of crystal and metal. Behind it floated a circular ring filled with slow-turning light. Vetra walked forward and touched the ring. It lit up at once. A voice spoke, clear, calm. Old Jem couldn't understand the words, but Vetra stood frozen, listening closely. Her eyes began to shine. What is it saying? Vetra didn't answer at first. When the voice stopped, she turned to him. It is the final record of the war. The last words spoken before our people vanished. She stepped aside and motioned for Jem to come closer. Touch the ring. It will speak to you too. Jem placed his hand on the ring. Suddenly, he understood everything. Voice became clear, as if it had always been part of him. This is the record of the final choice, the voice said. To those who find this place, know that we fought not only with weapons, but with hope. We placed our stories into crystals. We scattered them across the stars, not to survive, but to be remembered. If you are here, then you carry the last. Fire! The light around the ring grew brighter. More images appeared. A star map, dozens of worlds, all marked with the same symbol, the circle, and 3 lines. Others may still be out there. Jem said, his voice low. Yes, Vetra whispered. And now we know where to look. The voice spoke again. You are not the end. You are the link. You are the bridge. Then the light dimmed. The ring went still. Silence filled the room. Once more Jem looked at Vetra. Her expression was not sad. It was calm now. What? Vetra turned toward the exit. We take this truth back. To your people. To mine. We send this map into the stars. Let them all know that the past still lives. Jem nodded. Do you think anyone will listen? They will, she said, when they hear the truth from someone who carries it. They left the temple and climbed back to the cliff. From there, they activated a long-range signal from Jem's wrist device. The ship in orbit responded at once. The message was ready. Jem connected the crystal memory from the cave. Vetra added the star map from the temple. Together, they formed a single beacon, a story sent not with fear, but with hope. The signal launched into the skies. It rose. Vetra looked at Jem. I once hated your kind, she said. I thought you were weak, loud, careless. And now? Jem asked. Now I see why the old warrior stood beside us, she said. He saw what I see now. You are not fearless, but you face fear with open eyes. Jem smiled. And you are not a weapon. You are a voice from the past that still believes in the future. They stood in silence, watching the sky. Somewhere, far above, the signal moved through space and day. Someone would hear Etone Day. Others would answer, but for now, Jem and Vetra remained on the quiet cliff, not as enemies, not as strangers, but as the first bridge between two broken histories. And maybe, just maybe, the first hope of something new.